From ABC News, Biden expands Title IX protections for pregnancy, trans people, and sexual assault victims. Oh, that sounds so lovely. Part of this is that it basically strips sex-based protections, and now sex and gender identity are effectively interchangeable. It mandates pronouns, I hear. What else? Have you been reading into this?
Yeah, this is something I was digging into this morning, actually, and I was writing about it. The new Title IX rules also roll back due process protections for people who are accused on college campuses. Primarily, this has been men who have been accused on college campuses of, all manner of horrible things. And under Donald, remember Me Too?
Yes, so, but while it may do that, there is a counteraction, and that is, if any of these men accused just identify as women, it all goes away.
Yes. So basically, this bill says believe all men who say they are women and believe all women who accuse men. That's basically like the premise.
So you're basically telling a bunch of guys going to be like, I get it, fine, I'm a woman, I don't know, whatever.
Right.
But it says it's going to mean that a lot of men or a lot more men are going to be disincentivized from going to college and stuff.
Disincentivized from going to college, disincentivized from asking a woman out.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Perhaps,
definitely,
from interacting with women in any way.
Yeah, and so you're going to have women who are incentivized to falsely accuse because they're going to be able to get away with it. So any woman who is spurned or who perhaps, doesn't like a guy can accuse him.
Maybe, but if that guy, sensing that something is off, he could just identify as a woman and then accuse her first.
Yes, that is definitely true.
This happened. Remember the story where the guy accused the woman first? Like something happened where a guy and a girl hooked up and then she was saying things. So then he immediately, he ran to the Title IX office, I think it was, something like that. And then he said, I was assaulted by her. And then they were like, okay, he said so. And so then they started going after.
And then they had to do an investigation. And then, she's not allowed to face her accuser.
Yep.
At this point, that's the rule. Now universities don't have to permit you to face your accuser. You don't have to have a hearing. You can have everything on the side and in the background. I am a huge proponent of due process rights. I think it's a hugely important part of our Constitution. And I hate seeing these rollbacks. We've seen them, across the Me Too movement. We've seen these rollbacks for due process rights. So we saw it in Donald Trump's civil case with E. Jean Carroll and stupid Letitia James. We saw it there too. Like, no due process. Trump wasn't even able to defend himself in the civil case with Letitia James. In the E. Jean Carroll case, she was able to bring an allegation 2 decades after the supposed incident.
3.
And, 3. And if you recall, she cannot tell you when this apparently occurred.
And also the dress she was wearing didn't exist around the time she claimed it happened.
She changed her story after it was revealed that the dress, the Donna Karan dress she was wearing didn't come out until, the spring of whatever. So, so I hate this. This also has an expansion of rights for people who are trans by just conflating gender identity and biological sex. So all of the protections that were there, sex segregated protections for women, are now available to men who say they are women.
So you're in favor of segregation, Libby?
Yeah, I'm in favor of segregation based on biological sex to protect women.
All right, agreed.
But isn't that the point for what they're doing? Is it's like there is no due process for a guy that's getting accused, and the accusation
is enough.
The accusation is enough, and these are cases that are being adjudicated by woke leftist colleges. I mean, can you imagine whenever they're going through all of this behind closed doors, what else they're looking at? Like your social media posts that you've said, like your political opinions you've had in political science class. How much is going to go into these decisions?
It's actually really simple. If you are a college student and your family donates to the cult, you're fine. That's it. These panels are going to be like, no, we think he's good. Look at these women who are posting on X where they're like, don't listen to these women who claim they were raped on October 7th. These are white women attacking people of color. And it's like, whoa, wait. It's believe all women unless they're Israeli. That's apparently, it's because their ideology is actually just, do we get power from it or no? So if a woman accuses a man and then they go, oh, wow, a man assaulted you, bring him in. And they go, it was him. They're going to go, wait, that guy over there? Well, he's one of our biggest donors. You must be mistaken. Get out. You're a fascist. You're a white supremacist. You're a white woman trying to attack a poor person of color. And they're going to be like, he's white. He's Polish. Slavic people are people of color. That's
the rule?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Okay.
Not white. Yeah.
Yep, they are not white.
Interesting.
And they'll be like, well, he's part Polish. They will make up whatever reason to defend their power structure.
Yes, that's accurate. That is accurate. Like we even saw that with the left's refusal to get behind women who in the Muslim world who were fighting against Sharia laws and all of the restrictions and the clothing restrictions. And the left didn't get behind them. They instead said things like, well, that's just their culture. Why? Because it doesn't help you to get behind a bunch of poor Muslim women who don't want to have their faces covered in public. That just doesn't help you. And these are the same people who are now basically like in favor of Iran, even though Iran was doing horrible things to women over the past few years, you know?
Mm-hmm. I think there's something about the left's ideology that flourishes on stripping away at the dignity of individuals. So whether it's like these guys who are getting accused of sexual assault and have no ability to actually defend themselves, or if it's the little girls who have to change in a locker room or take showers with biological men. I mean, that is such a strikes at like the core of what is right and just and what it means to be a dignified man or woman.
Well, that's communism, right? It's destroy the individual.
Yes.
That's communism. I mean that's COVID lockdowns too. That's whenever the government steps in and says, you're no more than an economic unit, and we're going to decide whether you are either needed or you're not. And if you're not needed, you need to stay at your house. You don't get to go out to dinner with your wife or with your girlfriend. You don't get to go on dates. You don't get to do anything. You don't get to have a part in civil society because you're no more than what we tell you are.
Here's the issue, though. You take 10 women, line them all up, and you ask them, biological males and allowed in female spaces, yes or no? 7 will say yes. Allowed. Let me clarify. 10 millennial women or younger, and that's what you get. Older generations, not so much, but think about what that means moving forward. This is not going to go away. It's going to expand and exacerbate, at least among female voting patterns. The 70% of millennial women who are voting for all of these leftist issues are not going to change those views. Those are ingrained, and they're in their 30s. They're going to be in their 40s, 50s, 60s. And the younger generations are what we need to, who we need to be teaching. Now, it is fair to say, these people don't have kids. So I imagine what will happen is there'll be a normalization period where when you have the millennial generation and the Gen Z of comparable size, and then Gen Alpha is slightly smaller and the next generation is slightly smaller, there's going to be effectively the millennial females voting for these things will have a disproportionate amount of power generationally because the younger generations are less. Whereas normally the older generation starts to lose power because younger generation's worldview outvotes them once they get into the 30s and 40s. We are already seeing it with 70 and 80-year-olds who are basically running the show. Same thing's going to happen as generations get smaller. The older people will have a disproportionate amount of power until they eventually age out, as I would call it. But this means, again, 70% of millennial women vote Democrat. You go to someone and say, males, trans or otherwise in female spaces, and 70% of the women you ask, they're going to say, yeah, it should be allowed. And if that's the case, well, what's a guy to do, right? I don't use women's bathrooms, so I'm kind of like, whatever, I guess. It's your bathroom, ladies, and if 70% of your generation and younger are in favor of having dudes be allowed in there, that's democracy. That's it. You lose. They've taken your space. Then what? It's women who want this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's women who are compliant and acquiescent.
Yeah, but it's women voting for it.
No, I agree with you.
So that's not that's leading the charge.
Yeah, well, I don't think they started out leading the charge. I think they've been duped.
I think it's women. It's
certainly part of the feminist program, but I think they were duped into it. I also think women were a little duped into abortion, yeah, to a certain extent, to by trans identifying males.
Trans identifying males would the ultimate idea is this: it doesn't matter who convinced them to vote for it; it is their choice.
Oh, for sure, I agree with you.
So you can equally argue that men could tell women don't do this, but women choose to support one thing over the other, regardless of who's arguing for it. Mm-hmm. So this is women's choice to allow biological males in their bathrooms.
Yes, women are choosing to do it.
Right. Yeah. And then guys at the same time, they're like, look, man, women are like, you're a man, you don't have an opinion on abortion or whatever. And it's like, sure, I also don't care about your bathrooms. Let all the dudes in there. And then they're fine with it. It's like, okay. Many women are upset And that's unfortunate. But the problem is, so long as women overwhelmingly want men to be in their spaces, it will happen. And I don't know what the answer to it is. Enough liberal women and men vote for these things to enact these policies.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre. I don't understand how. I mean, I do understand how they got there with the feminist movement.
I think
it's very
this shows a large portion of women want men to be in charge.
I think that's probably true.
These women who vote for men to be in their bathrooms, deep down, just want men to be in charge of them.
Or is it an age thing? Because it's like, if you're a slightly older woman, like you're not changing in locker rooms very often, or you're not like showering after athletics period in your high school or whatever, you don't actually have to deal with the negative consequences of that, but you can be supportive of it and then feel really good and warm inside about how you're pro-trans or whatever.
Women love Dylan Mulvaney. Women love drag.
That's his fan base.
Women love men. Like, I think conservatives need to recognize this. Mm-hmm. Women overwhelmingly watch shows like RuPaul Drag Race. They like watching men be better than them. But it's not a joke. They want to see men dress up in ways that they normally do and do it better.
You didn't intend for it to be a joke. That doesn't mean that it's not a joke.
The videos, there's videos on TikTok where it's a man putting on makeup while talking. Like, I find these videos to be insufferable. It's like a trend started by women where they're doing their makeup and I'm like, you know what I saw today? Like, guys started doing it. And the guys, like, who's that? James Charles or whatever his name was? There was the guys get Charles. Bigger. Women would rather watch a guy put on makeup. Women would rather watch a man do burlesque. Women would rather men be in their sports teams and win. Women want men to be in charge. Not all women, but these women keep voting for it because they love when men do things better than them. A biological male was Woman of the Year several years ago. Mm-hmm. Women love it.
Well,
70% of yes, of course. 70% of millennial women and large. I don't know if the number translates down to Gen Z and younger, but younger women absolutely love when men are better than them.
Will they, whenever it really strikes at the core of their dignity, though? Like whenever they're told that you're in high school and you've got to shower with some dude who wants to put on a dress and say that he should be on your sports team. But you think that they're going to tolerate that?
Yes, because they do. They already do. See, I think this is like conservative worldview bias, where it's like conservatives can't imagine because the women they know are like, I don't want men in my room. But no matter what happens, even when you had at the Wee Spa in San Francisco, it wasn't even a trans person. It was literally a serial flasher. The other women in the spa were like, leave him alone. Leave her alone. She's trans. And they were like, the police go, actually, this is a male who's not trans who has repeatedly done this. And you defended him anyway. And they're like, well, we thought he was trans. Like millennial women they like it. I mean, you look at sports. They will come up with every excuse in the book why they want men to win women's sports. So I think what happens is conservatives are with conservative women. The conservative women are like, I do not want a male in my bathroom. And they go, yeah, women don't want this. And then 70% of women vote in favor of it. And they're like, no, that must be something. No, that's what women want.
There's also, though, a huge proportion of women, like some huge majority of women who don't believe that men should be playing in women's sports.
Right. But that's 30. That's the older generation for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And so my point is when it comes to our generation and younger, they're overwhelmingly in support of this. And my point is simply, I wonder if something happened where men have backed off to the point where women have found a way to try and put men back in charge of their lives.
I think there are many women, and I think women sort of as a whole do miss leaning on men to make decisions and to be a partner in a way where, somebody has to get the veto power, right? In a family or in a workplace, like someone needs to have the final say, even if you're partners.
Part of the phenomenon that you see it seems to me that you see with like the women that are feminists that have a kind of a go get 'em kind of attitude, like they're going to be the ones that are like, I want to be out in the world doing this. I want to be, having an effect on the world. And women that are like, I want to be at home and I want to be, a homemaker or whatever, they're like the people that are just like, I want to be left alone. Whereas the people that are like, I want to be active in the world for myself and do this, they're not like, I want to be left alone. They're the ones that are saying, oh, I want the law to cater to what my lifestyle. And because I want the law to cater to my lifestyle and I'm an active kind of person, I'll go ahead and be like, blah, 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 blah. Whereas people that are just like, oh, I want to be left alone, they don't want to be out actively trying to get the government to do stuff because all they want is to be left alone. So they're at a disadvantage, in and of in the fact of their temperaments. The people that are feminists that are like, we want to make sure the law caters to us, they're going to be out there trying to get the law to cater to them, whereas the people that don't aren't going to be actively pursuing government solutions.
Look at the end result of this Title IX stuff. What's it going to be? It's going to be teams comprised of biological males in the Olympics, no women's sports. There was a period where we didn't have women's sports. And somebody was arguing on Twitter, like back in the day, conservatives actually opposed women's sports. They're like, why would women need to do sports? Women should be working on home ec and taking care of families. Men do sports. And it was the progressives who were like, if women want to play, we'll set up teams for them. And now it's progressives being like, nah, we changed our minds. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.